It's pros and cons to objecting to a probate real estate sale. Should you object? Maybe, maybe not. We get into that next. Welcome back to the channel featuring the leading probate real estate team in the greater Sacramento region. I'm Brendan Moore, Realtor and Certified Probate and Trust Specialist by the California Association of Realtors.
And I'm Bill Heyman. I'm a licensed California professional fiduciary. I'm also a registered and bonded California legal document assistant, specializing in uncontested probate work, as well as I'm a licensed California real estate broker.
Now, please like this video, subscribe right now. Want your probate done for no fee? Well, every day we help people save thousands of dollars and eliminate headaches with our cost savings probate administration service and real estate listing combo. So if it's in California and real estate needs to be sold, reach out to us. Our info is in the About section on this channel. We love your calls, texts, emails, and comments. Now let's get into it. All right, it's pros and cons of objecting to a probate real estate sale. Now, before we get started, I want to mention that none of what we provide is legal advice. We are not trying to give that. We get a lot of people messaging us about objecting to a sale. Usually it's people who are heirs of the estate wanting to object. Now, we cannot assist with that. It's not actually what we do. That's not our profession. We help parties successfully sell real estate and probate estates. We do not work with contested situations and do not assist with objections. So if that is your case and you feel like you need to object or looking for advice on objecting, please seek legal guidance. Yep. Okay, so let's get into, though, some pros and cons of objecting. There may be very, very good reasons to object.
Sure.
Now, between you and I, we conduct our business in such a way that it's really uncommon that we actually see objections.
Yeah, we rarely see them with what we do.
But it can happen. And a lot of times, before we really get going, a lot of times it's caused by a miscommunication between heirs and perhaps the administrator of the estate.
Yeah.
So, and I understand sometimes there are already strained relationships, but sometimes the clarifications of what is going on and why can be solved just by opening that communication. And if you're not too sure about the process, talking with a professional.
Absolutely.
So let's go into what's maybe the first pro of objecting to an estate. And this is kind of a long one. We have a bunch of notes on this.
Yeah, well, I mean, I would say the first pro or perhaps a good reason to object to the sale is if you feel or you think or you know that the property is going to be sold for an undervalued price. If it looks like the home is being sold for well under what market value should be, that's a pretty legitimate reason to object to the sale.
And my understanding is that's the most common reason, but sometimes it's because of not really an understanding of the market.
Yep.
And there are certain reasons why people may think that. The most common reasons when people reach out to me and ask me is because the probate referee said it was worth more. And please watch our videos on probate referees and why that is just such a weak indicator of the home's value. That really isn't something you should necessarily go on. However, you may be correct. Another one of the online indicators. Zillow's estimate says it's worth this much. Zillow's never been in your house. A house could be worth, it could be hundreds of thousands of dollars in a range based on the condition. And Zillow doesn't know.
Yeah, Zillow has no idea of the condition of the house, especially the inside.
And I mean, you're in addition to a licensed professional fiduciary and legal document assistant, you're a real estate broker.
Sure.
And what is your opinion of a Zillow's estimate or one of those online indicators of value?
My own personal opinion of Zillow is that it's rare that they're accurate in their estimation of the value. They're quite often off either high or low by quite a bit.
In fact, a lot of times a Zestimate will say the price is something like, let's just say, for example, a house before it's on the market, it'll say 500,000. And I put it on the market for 600,000. That day, the Zestimate changes to 600,000. No realtor respects those online indicators.
No.
Another thing that somebody has said to me recently, it's actually been pretty common, somebody says this to me, well, the property was only on the market for a week before they accepted an offer. Okay, so the reality in real estate is, especially in California, in most parts of California, the first week of marketing is the single most important week. It is the week that you are most likely to get the best offer.
Absolutely.
So that's not an indicator to me. So none of those three things are really an indicator. Now, while you may have a valid reason, what you really want to do is you want to talk to a real estate professional in those situations.
Yeah.
But just be aware, most real estate agents, if your problem is about the probate referee, most have never heard that term. Maybe 1 or 2% of realtors have ever heard that term and might not have a really good grasp of it. So you just want to ask them, hey, can you comp this house for me? They would need to see the inside of it, probably take a tour. It could be a valid reason. Just make sure that you're sure, because objecting in that particular case probably leads it to a court confirmation hearing, which leads to a lot of cost.
Yeah, and delays, a lot of extra delay.
I want to go to the next pro.
Perhaps you may have serious questions about the actions of the executor or the administrator of the estate. Maybe they have not been doing things correctly or in an ethical manner. And if that's the case, you may have a valid reason to file an objection to slow the process down a little, which may give you more opportunity to examine the actions that the executor or administrator has taken and see if they're on the up and up.
Yeah, I would say that that's a great one. Seeking fairness is another one. Just making sure that everything is conducted fairly and transparently. You may not feel like it is. Maybe you're left in the dark, which is common, that you don't know all the little details. And really that could probably be handled a lot of the time just by opening up a line of communication. But if it can't, that may be a reason, especially if you suspect some unfairness going on.
Yeah, exactly. And then there's also another potentially good reason to object is if the executor or administrator appears to be doing something involving the probate home sale that is going to personally benefit the executor or administrator. It may or may not be monetarily. Maybe the administrator is attempting to sell the home to a friend or a distant relative at a very low price. But if that's going on, then yes, that's a valid reason to object to the sale.
Well, that's a great one, Bill. Let's go to some cons.
Sure.
Well, objecting to a sale causes a lot of delay, which increases expense. Not only could there be a hearing, and that could cost the estate a little bit of money there, there's more holding fees. The longer the estate holds on to these, there's property taxes, there's maintenance of the property, maybe you're paying utility bills. I think you should be paying utility bills to keep the property in good working order and avoid deterioration of the property.
Yeah, absolutely. The other thing too is when an heir objects to the sale of the home, and there's other family members' heirs involved, generally that's going to strain family relationships even more, because maybe you've got 4 heirs that are all prepared and looking forward to the home selling so that they will come into their inheritance. And then if you're the one heir who's objecting, you're definitely going to cause some flack and friction in the family. So that's another con of objecting to the sale.
There's a uncertain outcome. You don't really know that you're going to be successful. You may not be, and now you've just actually hurt the estate by causing more cost.
More delay, more costs.
Yep. Now, market fluctuations is another thing. Delaying the sale could elongate the sale, and in a market where there's maybe rising interest rates, maybe a recession, a lot of that is unpredictable. A lot of people would make a lot of money if they could really predict that very accurately. It could result in a lower sales price.
And the other thing too is you can lose your buyer. If an heir objects to a sale and it ends up having to go to a court confirmation sale, again, that's a longer process and more expensive to say. Your buyer may not want to hang in for that. They may just say, you know what, I'm done, and leave. And then you've lost entirely, potentially, that sale.
It's true. Now, this next one we have is what I would call a wobbler. It's Could be a pro, could be a con. And a lot of times people will say this to me thinking that this is a good thing. So if you object to the price, it's going to go to a court confirmation hearing. And what happens at the court confirmation hearing, and we have videos on this, is overbidders could show up and bid the price higher. So the opening bid is 5% plus $500 essentially over the offer price. And a lot of people think like, oh, well, isn't that shouldn't I object? Because then we'll get an even higher price. But in your experience, your experience is really similar to my experience on this. How often do you see overbidders?
In the 40 years I've been involved with probate, I have seen overbidders only twice. I would say 95 to 99% of the time, you never see an overbidder, because if the offer price that's brought in is at fair market value, there is almost nobody who's going to come in and pay 5% higher than fair market value in an overbid.
And we do a calculation what 5% is. It's significantly higher. Now, again, if you feel like the price is too low, I would make sure you do a lot of research into that, talk to an actual professional about it, and see, because the potential there is going from where you didn't need a court confirmation hearing to where you do, elongates the process for months. You could very well lose the buyer that was in contract. And now you may not actually have the best buyer anymore. Now you have to go back to the drawing board. You have to go back on market. Maybe that's what you wanted, but that is what could happen. There's filing fees, there's publication fees.
We actually, Brendan and I had a situation with an estate and property in Oakland a few years back, and there was an objection to the sale, lots of delays. So they ended up selling the property eventually at a court confirmation hearing for, I believe, $30,000 or $40,000 less than the original offer that we had procured.
And he objected to the sale really for a poor reason.
Mm-hmm.
He just wanted to continue to stay in the home. And look, I understand that it's hard for a lot of people. And this is the really, really tricky, hard part about probate. And we see this a lot. I feel really bad for a lot of heirs of the estate who maybe sometimes, there's down on their luck, don't have a job, elderly, whatever it is. And they've been used to staying at this particular house maybe for free, maybe for, just paying the electric bill, but not having to pay rent. But in the case of probate, all these other heirs who want their inheritance, it's really kind of all up to this whole group, and that's a tough situation.
Yeah, it is, because if you're going to object to the sale, you can't just march into court and tell the judge, I don't want this home sold because I want to continue to live in it, even though I've got 5 other brothers and sisters that need their inheritance money. I don't care. I want to live in the home. The court's not going to allow that. You're not going to win. That's not a legitimate reason to stop the sale. So you just have to understand that.
Now, there's really a lot of other pros and cons out there, and a lot of other reasons, perhaps, that somebody would object. And one I get occasionally is because the heirs of the estate, some of the heirs of the estate are looking to actually buy the home. And that's a tricky situation. There's certain circumstances where that works and doesn't work. And that's really more of a subject of a different video, not really so much for this one. But it's always great if you open up that line of communication, right?
Sure.
Now, what I think that you really want to know is how the probate process works. And I'll give you a short video. It's a 5-minute video on the probate process. It's called The Probate Real Estate Timeline in 5 Minutes. It's linked next. It's going to appear right over Bill's head.